Farmville Board of Commissioners, let the record reflect that all commissioners are present. The town attorney, town manager are all here. Those of you that are in attendance tonight, you'll have two opportunities to speak. One will be at the beginning with citizen comments. Do I have any of those, Amy? No citizen comments. And then at the end of the meeting, you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions of anything that you have heard. Before we get started, be perfectly clear that Ms. LaRue King will be speaking tonight. This is not a public hearing, or it is an agenda item, and Ms. King will be doing the speaking tonight, okay? So just make sure that everybody kind of understands that. With that being said, I'm going to ask Paul Ellis to come forward and deliver our invocation, and at the same time, I'm going to ask Scout Guy Wooten to come on down. Scout Wooten, if you come on down, he's going to lead us in our pledge tonight as soon as Paul is completed. And thank y'all for being here tonight. Paul?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight giving thanks for the many blessings you have given us. We thank you for the opportunity to freely gather to attend the affairs of our town. We thank you for the opportunity to live in our fine town, but most of all, we thank you for sending your Son so that we may have the opportunity to spend eternity in your presence. Bless those that are suffering, put your healing hand upon them, if it's your will. Now we ask you to bless our elected officials with wisdom and grace as they make decisions that may affect all of us. May each word spoken and action taken be pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we humbly pray. Amen.
Scout Wooten.
Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. We're starting the meeting right after this commercial. The Boy Scouts are having an oyster roast. Is that right, Commissioner Flanagan?
That's correct.
What's the date on that?
Thursday.
Okay, so might want to check into that. With that being said, no citizen presentations. That brings us down to the town manager's comment. Mr. Hodgkins.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the board, just have a few quick items. This is the time of year that we convert our water source back to chlorines from free chlorine. And we also start taking Greenwood Utilities Commission water. So there's a statement out, and we're already getting questions, I think, about some brown or discolored water. So you may notice that a little bit. Just let the water run. They are flushing hydrants, so the system's getting stirred up, and that shouldn't last for too much longer. You may have noticed when you arrived that the town parking lot has been spruced up. It was the failed parts were repaired, cracked, sealed. Everything's nice out there, remarked and everything. So thanks to Public Works for jumping on that. Hopefully it'll last for a while. Wanted to also report on a initiative from the governor's office called the Hometown Strong Initiative. We had several officials from state agencies come to town on September 10th at our library, and they met with several staff members to discuss grant opportunities, the town's needs, things like that, and it was a productive meeting. We had several state departments, including administration, commerce, environmental quality, health and human services, information and technology, recreation, resources, revenue, and transportation here. So we hope to get some traction out of that. And then last thing, another oyster roast. The Maine Museum oyster roast is scheduled for Sunday, October 27th, beginning, I think it's at 5 o'clock at the museum grounds. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Before I open it for the board, can you briefly touch on the next meeting that we're having, a call meeting? Yeah, was it the 21st?
Yes. Yeah, it's on the consent agenda.
Okay, just briefly before we get to that.
Okay, so the last meeting, you had an initial public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant Neighborhood Revitalization Grant application. Authorized McDavid to apply for that grant. As part of that grant, there has to be 2 public hearings. The deadline for the application is the 23rd of October. We don't have another meeting until November 4th after this meeting, and so we're asking that the board schedule a special meeting for the 21st at 5:30, and the purpose would be to select the recipients of this grant from applicants that the committee is receiving and will review on the 12th, I believe.
Board, I ask that for the benefit of the gallery, because some of these folks were not here at last meeting and may not were able to gather that information. Any questions of the town manager? Seeing none, that brings us down to the financial report, which is in your folder. Any questions of Amy on this, on the financial report? Any questions? Seeing none, that brings us down to changes, additions, deletions to the agenda. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we proceed.
Mayor, I have a couple of changes.
Okay.
Heard from Nelson Freeman today with Checkmate. The General Assembly is going into session on Wednesday. They're going to be moving fast on some aid for our western counties and several other items. And so Mr. Freeman was not able to attend in person tonight and asked that if he could come and give a report at your next meeting on November 4th. So item 8 needs to be taken off the agenda. And I would recommend that item 11, which is the last item, the Recreation Master Plan, Consultant Selection Steering Committee appointments, be moved to become the new item 8, if the board agrees.
What town manager suggesting that the Recreation Master Plan Consultant Selection and Steering Committee appointees be moved to moving number 11 to number 8, taking number 8 off the agenda, and then we'll proceed with 9 and 10. Can I get a motion on that?
I'll make a motion we proceed.
You've heard the motion to the changes. Any other changes, deletions, or additions? If not, can I get a I'll never get past Mayor Evans. Commissioner Evans has made a motion that we accept the agenda with the changes made. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. That brings us down to a proclamation. In your folder, the lady could not be here tonight. Ms. Culliford could not be here. She's had a family emergency. The proclamation for pancreatic awareness has been signed, and it will be delivered to her. That brings us down to a public hearing. Justin, I think you got this. Is that correct? This is a public hearing. Tonight, Justin will be making the presentation, and it's concerning rezoning of partial 22639 on Moore Turnage Road, and he will elaborate on that. Justin?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. As mentioned, this is a request to rezone that parcel along Moore Turnage Road. The parcel is currently zoned R15. This is the large parcel as you're going down Moore Turnage out of town that's located beside Farmville Central High School. The request is to rezone this property, which is currently zoned residential 15, to rezone that to residential 12. I think this subject, it didn't come before the board, but I know there's been some discussion with you as Commissioners, throughout the year. This started back in the spring. It come to the planning board, and the initial request was to look to rezone this property to R8. But after there were some internal discussions, the decision was made to pull that from the agenda. This was planned to come to you guys back in May, but after we had the discussions, we stepped back, worked with the developers, and then went back and issued or re-entered into our zoning ordinance an R12 zoning district in our zoning ordinance. What that has allowed is the request that's being made here this evening now to rezone this property from R15 down to R12. This would basically, the uses would be the same as far as the allowable uses, and what the developers are looking at is single-family residential. The allowable uses in the R12 zoning district are the exact same as that are in the R15. What this does allow for is slightly smaller lot sizes, which would allow for a few more lots. This would certainly be less densely developed than that originally proposed R8 that was discussed earlier in the year. But this is, what the request is this evening is to rezone that from the R15 back down to the R12. So just wanted to go through a couple of quick notes with you on this. So while the northern portion of the subject parcel, there's a map that was included in your packet, you'll notice that there is a large portion of the northern part of this parcel that's included in the flood zone and floodway. But we've been talking with the developers on this project. We've discussed the potential issues with them regarding permitting and the utility tie-ins. This will not be an issue, and the developers have said that they have no intention to develop in the floodplain or floodway. So there will not be any lots that will be, fall within that. So there will not have to be any special permitting in terms of, raised elevations or anything like that in our flood protection ordinance. The property itself is well suited for the proposed zoning request. The property, as I mentioned, is currently zoned residential, albeit, for larger lot sizes. This request back to R12 would match the existing residential lot sizes that are located just to the west along Wilson Street in the Dalton's Cove subdivision. That subdivision, all the lots there are around 12,000 square foot. With this rezoning request to R12, the lot dimensions for this subdivision would match the 12,000 square foot minimum that you see in Dalton's Cove. Also, additionally, given the proximity of the proposed development to the Wesley Church Road and Interstate 587 interchange, rezoning of the property would offer to help promote growth by providing additional housing inventory that would be conveniently located to individuals working both locally as well as in nearby job markets. As you recall, the town undertook a comprehensive land use plan update a couple of years ago. The parcel under consideration was classified as single-family residential as a part of that land use plan. So it is consistent with our land use policies that we have in place, and would also be consistent with all of the zoning ordinance requirements that we have for the area bulk size for each of the lots. This request was taken to the planning board at their August the 13th meeting and was approved unanimously. So this request is before you this evening, and I'll be glad to take any questions that you may have. We also have the team from Albatross Development here with us this evening if you have any questions for them.
Okay. Board, do you have any questions? We're going to ask now, and then we'll ask again too. Anything you've heard from Justin now before I open this up? Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone that would like to speak to this rezoning request? Anyone? Anyone wishing to speak? All I'll need is your name and an address of how I can contact you.
Good evening. Thanks, Justin. Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Zach Anderson with Albatross Land Development. I'm one of the two potential owners who are looking to purchase this property to develop it as single-family residential. Don't have any comments, really. Just open for questions if y'all have any.
Out of curiosity, how many lots will there be?
We're around 122-ish there, so below the max density that's allowable for that zoning district.
What would it be if it was to remain R15? So we're talking about 122 now, and if it were to remain at R15, any idea what that would be?
I couldn't tell you right offhand. It'd probably be a reduction, I'd say at least maybe 20 or so lots roughly, but I haven't calculated that.
Okay, but no, that's fine.
And is that section, that's town of Farmville water, sewer, and electricity?
Yes, sir. Curb and gutter, as is required in the city limits, water, sewer, stormwater, everything.
Commissioner Smith?
In my opinion, I would like to see it remain R15 because it's an entryway community to the town, and I think to have a nice residential area out there would be better than to do it at R15 than R12. Okay. We have an R12 right across the street. We have R8. We don't have any R15 at all in town, and we're getting ready to eliminate our one R15 and make it R12. I think that's an important neighborhood, and it would look better to have R15 out there than R12.
Any other questions?
That's my opinion.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just on the.
Ma'am, hold on real quick, Commissioner. Ma'am, if you'll hold on, you'll be next. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Talked about the floodplain. I'm looking on the map here. So we've got a couple of them. This blue line, and then it goes to red or purple and blue. Where are we talking about stopping the development?
Well, there's that little kind
Kinda-
of bay of the floodplains there, that's where.
Kind of that little that gold line there is
We
that,
would put the stormwater pond back in there, and then, you know, the neighborhood would be on the other side of that storm.
would be on this side, and that is, I guess, as far as floodplains go, is that the 100-year floodplain beyond that, or? So we would be up from the 100-year floodplain?
There's some wetlands back in the floodplain, so we wouldn't touch that other than the sewer connection, temporary impact.
Is the rationale for moving from an R15 to an R12 based on data of what the potential housing need will be in the future?
Pretty much, yes. I mean, I don't run that sort of data, but just the economics of building an R15 in the city limits with curb and gutter, water, sewer, and all that. Just the price that the seller wants to sell this land for, the price that I can develop a lot for, and what builders are willing to pay in this market for, it just wouldn't be feasible. I would simply drop the deal.
And as you might recall, we had a discussion when we reinstituted the R12 zoning district. A part of that discussion, one of the big points behind that was the infrastructure costs now to go in and develop, to try to develop R15 at this point, the infrastructure cost, it's tough to do that. Most developments now, R12 is starting to become a pretty large development, you know, in the region and in the planning world. So, you know, going from the R15 back down to the R12, as far as what you see, there's not going to be very much difference in terms of, you know, what you see in the neighborhood itself. The setbacks are very similar. You know, the only thing, you're looking 3,000 square foot less on each lot, but in terms of being able to, you know, the economics of it, as was mentioned, it makes it, you know, more palatable for developers to come in when, you know, as far as being able to recoup the infrastructure costs that are put in.
So for the developer, it's more cost effective.
That's a better way of saying the developer makes more money. And
I get it, I get it, I get it. I get it.
Anybody else have a question, this gentleman? Sir, thank you. Young lady in the back, your turn, come on. No. Come on up, so if you got it, okay. I don't want to leave anybody out. Anybody else have a comment? Anybody else wishing this is a public comment?
Can I make a comment?
Come on. You didn't bring no potatoes with you, did you?
I got peppers in the car.
There you go.
My name is Zachary Hackney. I live at 4290 Belcher Street. They were talking about flood zone, not planning to build in the flood zone. Would there be promises within this? Because it sounds like they're saying they just plan not to. But does that mean in the future, more development could be done to encroach on that flood zone because of the burden it could put on the town in the case of flooding and the cost that would be associated with that?
Thank you. Anyone else? This is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, we close this public hearing. Board, Justin, questions, comments, or motions? This is your second round of questions, Commissioner Smith.
Based on the concern about the floodplain, I mean, you can't develop in the floodplain anyway, can you?
That's correct. It would be highly difficult to develop, especially in that area there in your floodplain. Even if you were to try to develop, you know, that area there, we do have the regulations under our flood damage prevention ordinance that would very much prohibit the development of that area back there. So it would be very difficult to do anything past where they're currently looking to do that.
It would be cost prohibitive.
Yes.
And I still think this is an entryway development for the town of Farmville. It would look like it would be better to have a nice residential section out there. And I think R15 is better. I hate to, you know, interfere with y'all's business plan, but that's just my feelings. I like to see the R15 stay as it is. But you know, if the rest of the people want it.
Commissioner Fleming?
Is there anything tied to the R15 as far as the size of the house that goes on the lot?
No, there's nothing in terms of the size of the home, no.
So there's no covenant or anything like that? Okay.
Not that we would enforce, no.
Right.
Board members, anyone else? Any more questions? comments, or motion?
I mean, there's some valid concerns raised. I wouldn't be opposed if it, I know you guys need an answer, and we certainly want to get you one, but if we took another month to discuss it, could it come back at the following board meeting?
I'll be honest with the board, I don't know how much more we can really discuss on it at this point. I think we've
Right.
kind of, and again, it's ultimately up to the board, but, we've been through, this, earlier in the year, and, we sought out comments from the board, and it felt like, our opinions that we had come to an agreement with the R12, but again, ultimately it's up to the board.
Commissioner Smith, I'm going to go to you once again to express your concerns about this.
I just think it was R15, and it's R15 for a reason. It is an entryway, as Justin mentioned, it's coming into town from Greenville off Wesley Church Road. It's going to be the first neighborhood that people see. It's going to be the first impression that they form about Farmville. And I think it would be nicer to have a better neighborhood out there than the R12. I think R15 is nicer than R12 normally. And I think it would be nice to have a nice neighborhood out there.
Can I get a motion in either way?
I'll make a motion to leave it R15. If it's vetoed or voted down, then that's fine.
Commissioner Smith has made a motion that we leave it R15. You've heard the motion. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. This public hearing is closed. That brings us down to items for consent. Board, you've had an opportunity to read the 7 items there. Is there comments or motion to accept the items of consent?
I make a motion to accept the item.
Commissioner Smith has made a motion that we accept items of consent. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The items of consent have been accepted. That brings us down, for those of you that are following along, that brings us down to items for discussion. As you know, we move item number 11 to item number 8. And Christopher, have you got this? This is to approve a contract with McGill Associates for professional services for the creation of a comprehensive park and recreation master plan and approve the appointment of a steering committee. Sir?
Good evening, Commissioners. Christopher Horrigan, Parks and Recreation Director. Thank you for the opportunity to bring this before you this evening. Back in June, we released an RFP out to the public. We received 7 responses to that RFP. Through a very fair and deliberate process, we recommend McGill to be selected as the vendor to lead us through our 10-year master planning process. That selection committee included myself, Angela Bates, Paul Grimes, Steve Warner, who's a retired facility parks and operations manager, and Sunita Visani, Main Street business owner. We recommended that at the last Parks Board meeting. They recommended choosing McGill for this process as well. They also recommended the list of 9 names to lead the steering committee for the Parks and Recreation master planning process. This is effectively our business plan for the next 10 years. You very smartly invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in your parks departments and see the return on those. Over the course of 10 years, that's millions of dollars invested. A Parks and Recreation master plan will ensure that money is being well spent in terms of the return on investment, what we improve our parks, what new amenities you might choose to invest in, what you choose not to invest in. It will help make the argument both ways, as well as what program opportunities you want to invest in for your community. A large part of this is community engagement. This is what you're spending your money on, by and large, is for them to come in, evaluate our current operations, our parks, but most of this money is going towards engaging your community residents to determine what they want.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the Recreation Director?
How many times has the steering committee has not met yet?
The steering committee has not met only because that is for you to approve them.
Okay.
When can I expect that?
You can expect that. I have an email ready to go that I'll send out in the morning that'll start that process rolling. They'll meet about 6 times over the next 5 to 7 months.
Okay. Questions for Christopher?
And this is still this is the master plan that we talked about at the retreat and the reasons for it and all the agendas as far as getting grants, so on and so forth.
Yes, a big part of this. There is a lot of grant money, Land and Water Conservation Fund, PARTIF grants, accessibility for parks, North Carolina State grant that ensures your parks are accessible, North Carolina State Trails grants, then there's all the private and smaller corporate grants that are out there as well that this will help us leverage and get for our programs and projects.
Questions or motion?
And how much is the financial commitment, and where's the money come from?
Absolutely. So the financial commitment is $86,000 is what it costs to go through the plan. I'm not asking for any money tonight. We budgeted for that this fiscal year, so it is currently sitting in a professional services account, ready to go. The $80,000 from this year, it'll be finished the July of next fiscal year. That's where the remaining $6,000 will come from. As far as that plan that's finished, it'll come back for you to adopt. There is no financial commitment for you to say whatever's in the plan that they recommend you build or don't build. There's no commitment to you or any future boards to do that. Obviously, it's a good idea to follow that plan, but there is no financial commitment other than that $86,000 of the contract.
And as the plan develops, each part of the plan comes back to the board for approval, right?
Yes, absolutely. So the company that's coming in, McGill, outside of stakeholder groups, they're going to meet with you as a group individually to collect your feedback. And then again, as they develop the plan at different phases, they're going to bring it back to you and bring it back to the community to check, did we hear what you were saying? Did we act on that and put that into the plan?
Question or motion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Do you have a process for having a diverse group of people from the community involved?
Yes, there's a few parts to that. First, there's the survey elements. We're doing 2 surveys in parallel. One is a statistically valid survey. So that statistically valid survey is looking to survey 300 residents that are representative of the demographics of our community. And with a statistically valid survey, what you're looking for is if I took that group and I surveyed them 100 times, 95 times, that's going to come out the same response. So that's one section that we've got. The other is a parallel survey that's open to everybody. It's very similar in questions. That's going to go out to everybody in paper and online. It's also going to allow us to divide up into different areas of the city to make sure different areas are responding back, and we can measure that as well. There's community engagement where we're going to have pop-up events, town halls. A couple of the pop-up events we've already looked at scheduling. One would be Taste of Farmville, first Friday of December. Another one that's really big would be the opening day of our basketball league, which is a very diverse group coming through the door. So yes, that is a big part of it, making sure that the responses are representative of the community.
Anyone else?
No, this is exactly what we talked about at the retreat. I think you added $1,000. I think at the time it was $85, but that's okay. So I think it's a good plan, and we should go for it.
You want to package that up in a motion, Commissioner?
I'll make a motion that we, let me see how we got, that we accept the master plan for the recreation park.
Board, you've heard the motion from Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Zachary, this is for information only. I don't know if we'll need to drop the lights or not. You ready to go?
Absolutely, I am.
Okay.
If everyone can see, I'll try to speak loudly so you can hear. My name is Zachary Hackney. I'm a member of the community, and I'm the director of the Farmville Community Garden. And the purpose of today is to show some of the work that has been done in the community and also the future direction that the community garden is planned to move. The Farmville Community Garden was established in 2016. So just because I'm the one who's directing it now doesn't mean that it hasn't been part of our community. One of the important things about the community garden to notice with reference to Pitt County is we are one of 4 community gardens that is larger than 1/8 of an acre in Pitt County. So that's not counting the small gardens that maybe churches have, that are a couple raised boxes. So we are only one of 4. And I actually can tell you that the Greenville Community Garden is actually in the process of new leadership in the Bethel Community Garden as well. So we are one of only 2 highly active community gardens in Pitt County. If you're not familiar where the community garden is, the upper red box is where we're all sitting right now. That's heading down Main Street. You actually can see on the updated satellite photos, you can see the community garden a bit better than it used to. That is the corner of Cotton and George. We're right in the middle of town. This is a community garden that's supported by the community members. It hasn't been pushed to the outskirts of town. It's something that's highly walkable, highly accessible, and it's meant to be for all of our community. So I like old images. This is from 2015. This is the old corner of Cotton and George. And this is the improvement that the community garden has done on that exact site in the period that we have been there. It's beautified the space. It's made a publicly accessible space for people to enjoy. It also has opportunities for people to become members, to grow vegetables. There's no cost involved in the community garden. To become a member, all you have to do is say you're interested, agree to follow the rules, and you can participate in a lot of different ways. So I have to shout out our original founding. This is the groundbreaking in 2016. And even better than that, this is the old name of the community garden. This was the original posting in the newspaper asking if people were interested in starting a community garden. It's important to us that we serve the community. We were founded by interest in the community, so we want to continue to serve the community that founded us. This is how it started, with boxes on the ground and growing in the soil there. And through the efforts of Boy Scouts in our community, church groups, volunteers, all of these different institutions that help support our community and make it such a good place to live, we have been able to transform the space to even better serve. We're able to hold events out there to help celebrate the food history of Farmville. We're able to supply food to the community. We're also able to give a safe, active way for people to engage in physical activity and improve their mental health by doing activities that make them feel connected to their community. So this is a shot that I just took 2 days ago. This is looking out onto the property. This is showing all the different vegetables. Tools are provided for community garden members, and there's even a space now for people to get out of the sun and rest. This is the other angle, looking back out, seeing how it has improved the space in that community and created a space that is for all of Farmville. So, our community involvement, we currently have 85 registered members and families that participate. This does not count everyone who has participated. These are the people who are registered with us. All of you are welcome to become part of the community garden. On a weekly average, we impact 200 individuals in Farmville that are receiving fresh produce grown in Farmville. We also work with tons of different volunteer groups. We also work with individual volunteers. And we also, as a 501c3, can accept volunteer hours where people might need to get required volunteers. We currently have high school students completing their volunteer service with us this year. Food distribution is a big part of what we do. Some people grow food, they take it home, and we're not able to count that food because it's the food they grew for themselves. We grow food in public spaces at the garden as well. And this year alone, we've documented over 6,000 pounds of fresh vegetables and culturally important vegetables to our community that have been grown and distributed in Farmville. We distribute at the community garden. We distribute at the community outreach kitchen, the soup kitchen, mobile markets, peer-to-peer. We're here to help support people who are in need. We also do education programs. We teach new gardener classes, cooking classes. We just taught a strawberry canning class this last spring. We do more intermediate levels. We work with master gardeners. And we love pairing with the library. We're actually doing a story time at the garden tomorrow morning. We also have passive education. If you're just interested in learning, we have signs out there that help identify plants. We also help support the seed library. We also support sustainable growing techniques within our garden where you can go and learn. This is just an example of 1 day's worth of harvest: lettuce, mustard greens, collards, tomatoes for the summer. We weigh everything on site. That's a scale showing 65 pounds of cucumbers and squashes being donated. Basic garden rules. The only thing I'm going to cover here is there is no cost to participate. There are no barriers. Seed, soil, plants, tools, all provided. And if you want to become involved, all you have to do is agree to follow the rules when you're using the space, and you can use it. I quickly talk about the idea of individual versus cooperative gardening. These wooden boxes you see are our individual garden spaces. We have over 45 of them, all currently occupied, but with plans to build 8 more. And those are ones where you grow it, you take it home. You donate it where you want to donate it, you share it with who you want to share it with. The larger garden spaces are cooperatively gardened, and that's where that 6,000 pounds of vegetables is coming from. We also raise money for ourselves by growing hot peppers to make hot sauce. We grew over 500 pounds of peppers this summer to make hot sauce. That helps support our operating cost. So any grants we get don't go to paying for the unfun stuff, like insurance, website. Any grants we get from people help us actually do these educational programs. We also bring other groups in. We've hosted this Heirloom Gardens Oral History Project out of Princeton for 2 years in a row, recording and documenting the stories of Farmville. This year alone, we've presented at Eastern AHEC Conference, the Rafi Conference. We hosted the Community Garden Leadership Academy for all of North Carolina. And this is a photo of us hosting this year's class of park scholars came down from NC State to see what we were doing. So thank you all for your time. If you're interested in getting involved, I've got cards, I've got info. You can contact me at farmvillecommunitygarden@gmail.com. If you want to sign up for our mailing list, you can go to our website, farmvillecommunitygarden.org. Thank you to everyone who's helped support us, and I can't say enough how much the Boy Scouts have done for us in town. We have another 4 projects that are currently happening out there. So we love everything about them, and we love the support from the town, who's helped give us the space and help us fund some of this excellent programming for Farmville. Thank you all.
Any questions for Zach? Zach, thank you very much.
I also see a fair number of the members here tonight, so
Thank you.
thank you all.
Good deal. Thank you. All right, that brings us down to LaRue King. Presentation of the proposed clock tower on the town common. And as Ms. King makes her way here, earlier today, I received a text. A mayor's job is to gather the information. A mayor's job at that point becomes present and preside. And part of my job is like gathering all the information I can. And one of my tasks that I was assigned to do, I got an answer to it today, and I'm very proud of it. And I shared it with Ms. King earlier, and I will not read the whole thing. It says, John, I have touched base with all the active members of the American Legion. Their thoughts are basically, carry on, be respectful, and they are good to go. And I think that is probably one of the bricks off the wagon that we've been thinking about. If you feel like you want to sit down, I'll lower that podium for you. So that was an interesting thing today. I'm glad we got that. And I thank all you folks for coming tonight. And with that monument being there and where the clock is proposed to go, it is my belief that everybody should be happy right about now. So, young lady, this room is yours.
Okay. Mayor and town commissioners, thank you for your time. Today I would like to talk about the town clock. These clocks are found in America's finest towns. They first started in eastern United States in 1870. Then and now, street clocks stand against buildings and landscapes. Today, the clock stands as an American tradition. It's a symbol of our pride in workmanship, our stability, and our sense of community. It is a dignified reminder of our past and a legacy for the future. Businesses come and go, and things change, but the clock is just kind of like an anchor in a community. As a focal spot in Farmville, the clock will help us keep on schedule while enabling, enhancing the beauty and character of the town. The Farmville Home and Lawn Committee would like to clarify some facts about the town clock. We are offering an electric 15-foot, 8-inch freestanding post clock. The clock head is 45 1/8 inches wide. and 6 feet high. And the post is 17 inches square. The exterior has a high solid matte black exterior grade with polyurethane painted finish. The entire head parts of the clock, including the little winder and the bow, have a 23-karat gold leaf finish, and all this is maintenance free. The post has gold leaf, on the base. The clock hands are made from aluminum with non-corrosive bronze brushings. And the face of the clock is lit by LED lights with a photocell reset control switch. The clock and face have a clear, flat, tempered crystal glass for protection. The clock movements have bearings that are made with self-lubricating materials, so periodically lubrication will not be required. All parts are made of non-corrosive metals, such as brass and stainless steel. The UL listed automatic clock controller automatically resets clock after daylight savings time and power failure. A precision quartz base have a 4-minute max drift per year. There is a GPS satellite receiver mounted inside clock head. This enables the clock to synchronize with the National Bureau standard atomic clock. This will probably provide time accurate to 1 microsecond. Stainless steel anchor rods, full-size template, and the foundation will be provided. And the foundation will be a concrete form with steel anchors mounted inside. And the base will be a 3-foot wide and 4 feet deep concrete block. And if a problem does arise, there are techs you call from the clock company, and they will send a tech to address the problem. The techs are scattered all over the country, and they usually have somebody, would get one that would be close by. We are prepared and eager to start this process. This is an exciting endeavor, as community citizens have shown support, and many already have given several $1,000s in donations to make this a landmark reality. The clock will enhance the renovation recently donated by another one of our local families in Farmville, and now is the time to consider having a town clock. In conclusion, I am not originally from Farmville, but now I've been here 40 years. And being involved in organizations and activities, I feel like now I feel like part of the community. We would like Farmville to be known as the best place to live, play, work, and thrive for the current and future families that are joining us. Just imagine seeing the clock standing tall, reminding us our time is precious and we should use it wisely. It is time to leave a legacy for the next generation. Thank you.
Hold on. Anybody got any questions of Ms. King? Any questions? Any suggestions?
I got a couple of questions. Who pays for the tech when he comes? You said the tech is going to come from some location nearby?
We don't have a special fund for that.
A special fund? Mm-hmm. Speaking of special funds, just another question. What if a drunk guy rides along the highway and hits it and knocks it down? Because y'all were concerned about that when I had a conversation.
Well, and you know what happened to
it? Is there going to be insurance on it, or how's that? Or is that town's problem?
I don't know. Our committee hadn't talked about that yet.
What happens if they hit the Veterans Memorial? I mean, there's a setback.
Yeah.
That gets people get off the street?
There is a fund set aside for perpetual maintenance of the Veterans Memorial.
What about,
But insurance,
insurance?
wouldn't that fall under
Yeah.
the town's umbrella or easily be added?
I don't know, but I
You
assume it's
manage
probably
the rest
part
the
of
same
our
way you do
insurance.
others.
If I may, to Commissioner Evans' question, the committee, the Monument Committee, they set aside, in addition to the $45,000 endowment scholarship at Pitt Community College, they set aside another $10,000, which is in a trust, is that, what's it in there? It's in a trust line, $10,000, and has been there. But the reason for that is what Commissioner Evans was asking. If that drunk driver leaves Bert's house and runs into your clock, and runs into your clock, and the insurance not covered, then that money is there to cover that. But I think you answered that, Ms. King, when you said your committee had not discussed that.
That's right, we have.
Which leads me to Dr. Hobbs.
Okay, I have a lot to say, but the first thing that I'm going to say is, thank you for that well-conceived concept. I know we did this a few months ago, right? And we're here again tonight, right? Which means we don't have a process for your ask. We need to put in place a process so we can make some decisions of how to do it, when to do it, and where to do it. And I think that's what we need now. We need a committee to bring this to fruition.
I think that's what I heard from Ms. King. So that brings several things. And his question is I got excited today when I got my text from the VA, from the veterans. I got excited about that, and that was a good thing.
Yes.
And that had been a question, as you know. So my question is how, she got a committee, my world.
Okay.
Everybody here got a paper in hand because they want to speak. This is her committee.
Okay, well, we need.
Okay, so what we need to do as a board, I would imagine, help me with this, is that we need to formulate some questions, get them to David, the community, now that this is no longer, now that this is so that people can respond,
Yeah.
okay, and say, these are some questions we've got from the community, and then, I know you're gonna be out of town in November, but the last thing I said to an individual sitting here today, which, by the way, my question was, how long is it gonna take to build this thing? Will it be ready by Dogwood Festival? Okay, which means I don't think we need to kick this can down
Right.
the road anymore. The questions have been asked, there's been enough questions, and it's no longer not, and now it's very transparent. So my question is, let me ask you this, because you gotta speak for this whole crowd now, so think. How would we go about a committee that can meet, field the questions, whether it may be through the Face of Farm, I mean, what's that thing? That email, Facebook thing?
Oh, Friends of Farmville?
Yes, that
I don't
demon.
know if I would recommend.
Okay, and we get the questions and bring them, and we discuss it, and get the questions answered, bring them back, and then this board can make a
We need to
decision.
have a public hearing.
We will have to have a public hearing on that. That's where everybody will get to speak. There will have to be a public hearing on that. But I don't think it would be, but just one, would it, David? We wouldn't have to do 2 or 3, would we?
Not
Just one?
necessarily, yeah, I think.
Because that is the process. Dr. Hobbs,
May I
help me
raise
with
another
this. What are we
issue?
gonna do?
And the other issue I want to raise is one of time. I looked at these figures that you brought in last time. Right now, they're the same, but will the time frame make a difference in what you'll have to pay for it if you wait too late?
Yeah.
Is time of the essence?
Yeah.
Always.
Well, when we put in an order, we have to pay, I forgot how much down. Maybe-
No, I mean, will they change your base price?
Not that I know of. That's what they give us.
Well, I'm going with the mayor. I think you need to do it sooner rather than later. Because they can't change these prices.
Yes, yeah.
Can we set a public hearing for our next meeting and then have the committee answer all the questions and move on it at that time?
The issue with that, Commissioner Smith, is Ms. King will not be here for the November meeting because we tried to get the questions answered to bring all this to the November meeting, but since she was not going to be here in November, we kind of rushed it up to get on the agenda tonight to talk about this because she's going to be out of town in November. Now, with that being said, let me pick somebody out there to take your place in November. Would that work?
That's fine.
Wait a minute, you stay right there. And let's just help us with this. and of how many people and where would they come from to be on the committee. Now, I can suggest from this board, I can suggest Commissioner Flanagan and Commissioner Evans because they've already been in and surveyed the land. That would be my 2 picks from the board. Okay, now, how many more we need?
Let me just ask, do we have to have a public hearing?
Where
is that a requirement?
I don't think it's a legal requirement, but I think we've always had public input on things that have come on the town common. So it doesn't have to be a legal public hearing, but I think it'd be good to have some sort of public input. We did it for like even for the little sign that went out for the high school. The only other thing I think that's been added that I know of on the grounds, we had public input for that. And that's just a little, it's a small sign. So this is a monument.
Right.
I mean,
Would we
Not
be?
to be snarky,
Go
but
ahead.
they had their public comment hearing in November. They'll get another chance next November, right, to have a public comment on, as far as our judgment as to whether or not this should go or not go up there at election day, is what I'm saying.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm not
So,
that. I'm just,
there's just not a requirement that we.
there's not a legal requirement.
Do
to have a
anything other
public
than use our
hearing.
good judgment.
But it's just,
Right.
you probably do want to have some public, even from other people in this committee, I'm sure.
Let me ask this. First of all, Commissioner Flanagan, Evans, would you guys, since y'all been out there and walked the land, would you be willing to serve on this committee? Sure. Would you be willing to do that? Would you be willing? Okay. Absolutely. So I got my 2. We need about 3 more. How many would you say you would need? Would you say we need 5 or 4? How many would you think, Commissioner Flanagan?
I'm not convinced this is the direction we need to go is with a committee. I think we can.
How do you think, how would be your way of getting the questions answered? How do you think about that?
The questions that I've heard are, does it meet the current zoning and setback requirements? Which it would have to, right? Regardless of anything we put up there, it's got to meet the zoning and setback requirements. Does the construction meet the North Carolina Building Code, which it should have to? I mean, what's it going to cost? I'm hearing that you guys are you're covering the cost of the purchase and the installation and set aside for maintenance, similar to what has been done on other monuments?
There's only one out there, so it's only been done one time. Are you suggesting they decided to bring it all back in November? But which leads me to this question. Since we don't know if we got to have a public hearing, since we don't know that, and it's really not what I'm hearing.
Question?
Could we do it in the 21st? Could we do it on the 21st?
Is that a question? I mean, Chris,
I'm not aware of any requirement that there be a public hearing on this, other than if it has been customary to have public input if you're going to designate part of the town common for a particular use. But I don't know of any legal requirement that has to be met.
Okay.
Is anybody aware of any,
Opposition.
have we set a precedent with any of the other things that we put on town commons? Have that been determined, or has the public been allowed to speak their opinion? Is there any precedent?
No.
If there is no precedent.
The only thing since I've been here that's been added to the comment I can think of is the sign for the Farmville High School sign out front, and that was Dr. Bert Warren Sr. came up, and there was comments from the public, and this board asked questions, and I don't remember exactly how many meetings it was discussed, but I think it was more than one.
Continue, Commissioner Flanagan.
No, and then the other concern I've heard, and I think is very legitimate, is that we don't really have a process. I think when this group came to us in February with this proposal, I think we've sent it back to the planning board, and they didn't really have anything to measure it against. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So I think we do need to have something in place, but I think this has kind of come before us in advance of that. So I would be okay with accepting this gift contingent upon the things we have, addressing the concerns that we have. It meets the setbacks. It's built to the building code. There's an appropriate fund set aside to cover the costs going forward for maintenance, and then that we also, as a second item, place a moratorium on anything else going on the town common until we can develop that
Process.
procedure for evaluating future donations. If I say that's my motion, does that?
Hold on a second. Dr. Hobbs, is that,
I concur with the fact that we do need a process, but in light of not having one, we can accept the offer and then create a process for anything coming afterwards.
I agree with that.
let me ask you this.
I have a question. Did the Veterans Memorial, did they have a public hearing?
When they did that, it was so long ago, and there's only like a half a dozen of us still around, you know?
Well,
And that means Dr. Hobbs is right. And what Commissioner Flanagan says, we're here tonight to accept this offer, to accept this. This is what we're here to do, okay? What Commissioner Flanagan, and you help me, Mark, is contingent that we want to fill in those blanks moving forward, and then, like, will there be an X number of dollars in case the person leaves Bert's house? And then the other thing is, moving forward, this board, before anything goes out there again, we have a process for that. Now, did I understand that right?
That's correct.
Now, with that being said, am I right in asking you for a motion to accept what you've seen here tonight on this clock, and we accept the clock plan? Is that what I'm hearing?
yes.
Okay? Board, Lord help me with this one. There is a motion that we accept the community clock tonight, which is one of two in the United States, from what I understand. I just thought I'd add that. We accept this clock tonight, and then as soon as we accept this, we'll depend on y'all to fill in the blank of how much money is going to be given in case the insurance doesn't cover it, and then this board will form and have a moratorium on anything going on this town common until which time we have an opportunity to figure out a process to move forward. That is the motion.
Good.
No, I'm not going to repeat it. Any discussion?
No.
May I ask a question? Do we need to put a time limit on the moratorium? I don't think you need to just have to leave it open-ended.
It should be.
I think that would be something that we would ask, is that something that we could ask the planning and zoning board to come to us with? Would they be the ones to develop that, or would that come through our attorney? I'm sure there are other towns out there that have something like this in place for evaluating. I mean, what goes on the Capitol in Raleigh, there's something out there that they use to evaluate.
They have criteria.
I think, isn't the town commons considered a town park? And shouldn't that come under Parks and Recreation Department probably?
If you had to kick it to a committee, it really was more of a Parks and Recreation thing. I mean, because it is a town park. The Commons is a town park. But, well, I haven't obviously discussed it with the Recreation Department or anything, but that would be, if you had to send it to a town committee, city committee, that would probably be more appropriate.
What if we put a 6-month moratorium, I guess, to the Dogwood Festival?
That's what
How does 6 months sound?
I don't know.
6 months sound good? 6 months, good?
Now, to be clear, we're talking about 6-month moratorium on any future
thing.
things, not this clock.
Which means this board got 6 months to get a policy and procedure in place. Okay?
That's doable.
Okay? Board, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, you got your clock. Now, it ain't over. No, it is for you, please. The next item on our agenda, you can have a seat. The next item on our agenda is citizen comment. Citizen comment. Now, that's where you come up and get your piece of paper in your hand that you wanted to speak tonight. This is where you can speak or ask any questions. You're going to make a comment about the clock, you want to talk about the garden, whatever your questions are, this is where you ask it. We try to make clarification because we do move at warp speed. Anybody having any citizen comment at this time? Come.
I have a comment.
You can do it from right there.
Going a little bit fast and just like keep up, but anyway, from what I heard, I think it would be, you were saying that you had questions about the clock.
Just one. Just one. I had two, but now I just got one. You want to know what the one was?
Did you want to have that answered by a certain time?
Well, I think we pretty much, you know, when y'all got your clock, we just want to know how much money you gonna put in the line account in case somebody would happen that the insurance wasn't covering. That's in your corner now. That's whatever feels good to you. You know, if you think $30,000, $40,000 would cover it, then we're good with that. And it'll all, or whatever, $1,000, whatever. And then the veterans chose 10,000. Well, yes, that's just a matter of opinion of what you think you want to do, because that's what we did, okay? And so that's one of the things that y'all can do moving forward. Then that's exactly what that is. Outside that, I had two questions. The veterans was one, and that was the other one. And that was my due diligence on this, to have it presented to the board tonight. And that was my job. Okay, Susan?
Yeah. So if I'm leaving Physicians East and I happen to miss my break, and I run into the memorial for the military, who's responsible? The military's responsible for the back monument?
Help me with this. I think I can help you with that. I think I can answer. Help me with this. The insurance covers it to a certain point. And if there's something that the insurance won't cover, that's what that line item is there for. Try to make it as simple as possible. Is that right, David? And then I'll go to you guys over there.
I can speak on the insurance.
Okay.
If a vehicle strikes anything, we've had cars that get run into buildings, houses, the motor vehicle insurance is going to cover that. Now, there is a chance that they could possibly not have insurance, and then we would have to look at that. But more times than not, we're going to have insurance on the vehicle, so the insurance on the actual vehicle is
Yeah, and another thing too is, you know, when we had the tornadoes in '84 and the flood of '99, anything could happen there, and that's a precaution. And just so y'all know, that money's been there for that monument, because that was the first thing that was put out there, and that was put there just in case of the insurance didn't do it. Anybody else got a comment before I go to the board for closing comment? Seeing none, board, anybody got anything to close with? Dr. Hobbs?
No.
I'd just like to ask David to contact our insurance company and find out what, to cover the clock for $35,000, what would that additional premium look like?
Okay, 35,000 is what?
The value of the clock.
Replacement
Is that all that clock? I missed that. Is that all that clock's going to cost? 35?
It's 30, it's actually less than that.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Just rounding it up.
33,184.
Oh, okay, I missed that somewhere. Sure, I can check.
I'd just be curious to know what that would cost to add our policy.
Replacement cost.
Anybody else with a comment? Seeing none? Okay, real quick, thank y'all for coming, and now I'm going to ask a favor of you. I spoke to David and spoke to the town attorney about this. We find ourselves with a street in Farmville called Library Street. I like that look. Like, where's that street? That street is over between the National Guard Armory and where the new fire station's going. And we can't seem to find anybody that can tell us how it got the name Library Street. But we all agree, to some degree, that a street named Library Street in front of the fire department makes you scratch your head. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Is that Lawn and Garden Club, is that it? I'm asking y'all to give me some possible names for that street as we move forward, because our fire department is coming at us now. We're getting ready to do that. So if you would help us with that, well, we certainly would appreciate it. And another thing, I thank y'all for coming tonight. This helps this board function. It helps us get things done. You know, the worst thing in the world is when we first got this monument, it was $52,000. It's amazing how Commissioner Evans whittled that down to $35,000 just that quick. You know, so we were able to do that, and being very transparent here and getting it out there before the rumor mill can churn it up. So thank y'all for being here tonight, and think about our friends in the mountains. And I hope you'll join us in our November meeting, and I look forward to dedicating that clock, and I hope it's on or about or before the Dogwood Festival. Okay? With that being said, any motion to adjourn? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. We are adjourned.